Now, how many of you have ever played with Scalextrics, racing miniature cars around the living room, going round a corner too fast and flipping off into the skirting board? Hours of fun and maybe even the odd argument. But did you know that this invention was not only British, but that it was first made right here in the Solent area? Well, we didn't, so our reporter Richard Stringer wasted no time in racing down to the spring in Havant to find out how these model cars made it into every child's Christmas list.
The thrill of the race as you slide round one corner, only to spin off at the next. This fantastic toy gives you all the buzz of a racing circuit, but from the comfort of your living room. Scalextric has been delighting children of all ages since the late 50s. But how many of you knew that it was first produced in Havant?
Well, I've been a collector for 25 years. I love Scalextric. This is all about Scalextric and trying to share it with the wider public of Havant in particular, because it was invented in Havant in 1956 and first sold in 1957. I mean, Scalextric is a long-standing brand which has gone through a lot of ups and downs over the years, changes of ownerships, and it was when the parent company, Triang, fell upon hard times in 1970 that they had to consolidate production with the railway factory. The basic idea is timeless, but I think the range has moved with the ages, and production of modern cars are reflected in the range. And I love the 60s stuff, in other words the stuff that was made in Havant, and that's what brought me to Havant and the swap meet I organise as well. So it's that stuff that I love best of all, and just the quality of it and the design of it for a 1960s toy was just phenomenal, really. It's been copied around the world now, but I think it's wonderfully British and a little bit eccentric, as only the British could do, really.
The factory in New Lane was later moved to Lee Park when inventor Fred Francis sold the company, and I was lucky enough to talk to someone who worked there about his involvement in this British icon of the toy industry.
Well, I was the assistant chief designer, so from about 64 to 68. So I suppose those were the golden years, as they refer to them as. I remember coining the term the Europa for one of the generic racing cars that weren't really a model of anything, so we didn't have to pay anybody any royalties. That was the first of the much simpler concept cars with much simpler pickup and layout and motor and so on and so forth. But when I arrived there in '64, there were some very, very beautiful cars. I remember the model of the 7.5 litre Bentley with the supercharger out on the front axle, and they were just lovely. They were almost too good to race in case you rolled it off the first bend, sort of. We were part of the Triang group of companies, so there was a lot of cross pollination going on. Well, I think they are a part of motoring. I mean, they're just the other end of the scale, and that's why it's a brilliant thing that scale is part of the name. But look at how motoring has progressed over the years, how motor racing has progressed, and Scalextric has been there holding hands with the industry for the whole of that time, and I think it's such an iconic toy. It's always going to be there. We're very, very proud to have been part of it right from the start.
I asked David if after all these years he still played with the models that he helped to create.
I gave all of my Scalextric collection, which was quite considerable, as you may imagine, to my two nephews, my sister's boys. And they played with it for a few years, and then one day my sister, who is trying to avoid us, decided she needed more room in this airing cupboard where it was all stored, and gave the whole lot away to the local vicar. In today's terms, that collection would probably be worth around between £10,000 and £20,000, and it included lots of cars that never went into production, lots of experimental bits and pieces, and some very, very nice cars. Yeah, I think it's a brilliant toy. It's competitive. It's a good base for an argument, and I hope it continues for many, many more years.
Well, although production has now moved overseas, Havant is still proud to have played a part in the history of this very British invention, and you can view the exhibition at the Spring until the end of December. Plenty of time to practice my driving skills. This is Richard Stringer for That's Solent.